Well, hey there, you're on the internet, I still have too much free time, and welcome to the Triple N Network, where all you newbie nib nerds can find all the news you'll need. Let's look at an ink today, shall we? Today's ink is by Diamine, here in the plastic 30ml bottle. Asa Blue, which was in this Knox Galileo with, well, they say it's an oblique broad nib, but I had trouble with the obliqueness and finding the obliqueness, because as you might be able to see, that's just pretty simple and round. But anyways, I did manage to catch a corner a few times. But so here's the chromatography. It's very light blue, a little bit of potential for water resistance, but really not a lot. Here you see this lightness down at the bottom, a few streaks heading up, and a sort of darker band at the top. And sort of a lighter turquoisey thing going on at the sides. So, and here it is compared to several other Diamine blues. Here's Asa Blue. Bilberry, which is much purpler, Mediterranean blue, which is extremely pale, sapphire blue, majestic blue, indigo, Prussian, teal, which is very obviously green, blue-black, midnight, Sargasso Sea, Kensington, Florida. Anyways, starting from the top down in density, Clairefontaine 90 grams per square meter. That was my phone. As you can see, there's good shading. This was an oblique broad nib, so it was a little on the wet side and fairly wide. 18 seconds to dry, not the worst we've ever seen on this paper, but not the best either. It was well behaved. Some halo, which is what I call it when the ink pools especially dark around the edges of the writing. Thought there was good vibrancy. And the water test, well, this is some of what we saw in the chromatography. It's a very different blue, but anyways, not the best water test. In the broadest areas of the strokes, it's most readable, but it's yeah, it's not great. No bleed feather spread. Next is Rhodia, 80 grams per square meter, if my camera would focus. So where you see these little asterisks, that's where I caught the corner of the supposedly oblique broad nib, and it got through the paper. So some shadings show through. Yeah. Those are the only places where there was show through. It was where I am still learning how to use an oblique broad nib, and apparently it's taking me a while to learn. But yeah, I love the shading. I think it's a nice light blue. 16 seconds to dry, really not so bad. Water test I felt was a little better, but it also was a bit feathered. So I guess some give and some take. Next is Tomoe River Paper, where I felt the shading was fantastic. Good flow. 24 seconds to dry, so it did kind of take a while. I said there was halo sheen in some areas, which is true. It's just that I'm not going to be able to get it on camera, I know it already, but just the thinnest bands of sheen. It's like a dark red kind of a thing. But anyways, water test was okay. It's light, but it's very clear and very readable and very consistent, which I kind of liked. So there's that. No bleed feather spread. Some show through, but this paper is fairly thin. Next is 20-pound Copier Paper, where I said there was good flow and good vibrancy. I felt like this was a fairly bright blue ink. 7 seconds was kind of a long dry time for such absorbent ink. Shading was great though. I said there was halo sheen in the dots, so like where you dot an eye. I'm not gonna. Oh wait, there, the eye in 5. Might be able to see it a little bit. But anyway, so that was nice. There was pretty much no show through and no bleed feather spread. Water test, that's weird. It's actually much clearer in person than it is on camera. Again, very consistent. It's light, but it's consistent and it's fairly clear. Yeah, there's like almost no show through with this paper. Next is Mead Notebook Paper, where there was good flow still, but pretty bad feathering. So there's that. Yeah, some bleed, no more sheen, no more shading really. The water test was disastrous. Yeah, maybe in this Oblique Broad it really didn't do well, but I also have a feeling that, because like here in the thinner cross strokes, there's still feathering. You still get this weird woolly texture. So it's possible it would do better in a smaller nib, but I'm not entirely convinced. Next is Moleskine Notebook Paper, where I said there was feathering and bleed, and it went very flat. It became this sort of flattened blue color, and the feathering, I mean, look at the word oblique. There's giant feathers shooting off of that. And it's, I mean, I guess you could call it shading, but it induces such bad feathering that I don't really think it can be considered a complimentary thing. Dry time was 6 seconds, not the longest, not the shortest. Water test was fairly okay. Not as explosive as we've seen it before. It's darker than most, so it's pretty readable in that sense. Bleed through was pretty bad and all over the place. It wasn't just patchy in some areas, like the paper was acting inconsistent. But yeah, so that's Diamine Asa Blue. It's an interesting ink. I like it. It's about as light of an ink as I like to go. I prefer the darker blues. Sorry about the oblique problems on some of the paper, but for your consideration. So if you like the video, give it a thumbs up. If you'd like to see more, please subscribe to the channel. And if you have any strange experiences with this paper, let me know. With this ink on any paper. And so long from the Triple N Network. Bye.